Hey folks, it's ZaciRoo and welcome back to part 2 of Caregiver Month. In this installment of the Caregiver Month series, Miss Mommy Black and Mommy Boo will be continuing talking about communication and how it's very important in this dynamic, and also talking about caregiver self-care, which is incredibly important for caregivers to know and realize that they have to take care of themselves before they can take care of others. So stay tuned, sit back and relax, and enjoy this part 2 of Caregiver Month.
In these relationships, allowing someone to get to that vulnerable, safe space, you are really, like parents, good parents aren't necessarily thinking about themselves. They're thinking about what's good for their little. But that all being said, it's also important, so important, that you take a look at yourself and you take a look at if you really are, number one, if it really is good for you, if you really can be a good caretaker and are ready to take on this responsibility of someone's psyche, because that's really what you're getting into when someone goes into little space, is breaking down the walls and meeting their inner psyche, that part that can so easily be, it's like this little, it's almost the inside of an M&M. You've taken off the candy shell and it can be all melty and you can crush it and whatever.
That's fragile little M&M.
It's fragile little, sweet little sugary dollop of wonderfulness. But you really do have to look at yourself and say, can I actually do this? Am I in a mental health state where I can take on this responsibility and really not think of myself in these situations and really care for somebody? And it's okay if you're not too. And there are going to be some times that you are and sometimes that you're not.
And it
absolutely
helps being the team with you and Buttercup, because I get triggered, I get overwhelmed, and then I have the support of these other two amazing mommies. So it's okay to reach out to a trusted one, and it may be good to establish that trusted person that you have to, release, to talk about it, to get a hug, to get some support. That's so important.
And I think that there are on FET, there are like caregiver groups,
and
stuff
that's
like
great.
that.
Yeah, there are.
And it might be something good too that we can establish, or if somebody knows of some caregiver groups where people can connect with other caregivers.
Yeah, let's get really that conversation started, because that'd be great to compile that information. Because
it is a completely different thing. It's not like, I think so many people get confused and think that it's some sort of like domination thing, which there are definitely aspects that you can go into, but it's so much more.
And it's going to be like, it has to be so important to you and mean so much to you. And if it's not a good fit, we have the responsibility of letting the little, of finding the right fit for the little, or making sure the little knows we're not able to,
Yes.
That's okay to say no.
Yes.
So that's really important.
It's important like with psychology, to make sure that you're not getting into it for your own needs, and that you're not transferring onto the little.
I say you have to leave yourself out the door, and that's something you practice and you get better at it and better at it. It takes practice.
And communication, which is coming up. Communication is, and also this is a huge thing: physical exhaustion. Oh my God!
Especially for us.
Yes.
Especially for anybody.
Because
everybody.
Yeah, littles are little, yes, but we are adults, and we are big, and
we get tired. And we have other.
Well, I'm saying if you're like hugging someone and you're like, kind of not really picking another adult up, but if you're doing all these physical things where you're running around all the time,
getting down on the floor, playing.
We are not spring chickens, some of us.
Sometimes I get on the floor and it takes a while to get Mommy Boo back up.
I'm like, cannot get back up off the ground.
So, physically.
That's when it's nap time.
Yes.
Everybody just lay down, and that's fine. So you definitely have to check in with yourself and make sure that your body is doing everything that you can. And also that's why it's important in long-term relationships that it leads into this next thing.
Okay.
Hold on. Let's look at this next slide, everybody. Taking care of littles. Communication.
Communication
is the most important aspect of age play. Absolutely. And so recognizing when your body is not up to par, when you are not psychologically able to do things, it's all okay. When you're triggered, it is absolutely okay. And but your responsibility is to communicate that to your partner, because at the end of the day, we're all partners. We are not, it is so important. None of us, we really are not children. And I think that so many people really want that to happen, they really want to just let go and let someone just take over their entire world and stuff like that. But that can be so dangerous. Everybody needs to be able to be in an adult headspace. You have to.
Very important.
You have to, because, and I think not enough people really focus on this. You have to be able to say to another person, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. It's so important. Because
practice in the mirror. Practice. Yes. Write it down.
If you are as a little unable to talk to a caregiver and say, I don't like this, I don't like when you do this, that's not good. That is not healthy.
It's recreating
the
situation that you've been through where your needs weren't met that started
it can so easily lead to an abusive relationship. And we hear that
abuse
all the time.
Control.
Where a little will say, they were the mommy, and so I just did whatever they told me to do, and they never felt empowered enough to be able to say, I don't like this, because that dynamic wasn't set up where the little could be in adult headspace or could be looked at as an adult. And the responsibility of the caregiver is to make sure, because like I said, age play is amazing, and being able to have that dynamic is so fun and it's amazing, but you also need to, as the adult or as the caregiver, really pull that little back into the adult headspace so that you can connect with them on a level, because
and it's for safety, and it's safety. Okay.
So going to that thing, part of that is consent. So we all know consent is key. Consent is like everything. If you can't get that little into adult headspace, how are they able to really give you consent? You can't. It's sort of like, for those of you who know, going into little space, you become like a little. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You're just like, oh my God, and all you want is to be loved. You're going to do anything that you can to make sure that adult loves you or that big loves you. And you're willing to do anything. You're just like, okay. But that's not healthy. You have to be able to come back out so that you can give consent. And I think a lot of people have that misconception of just like, well, they're okay with this role play, and so they're going to be okay forever. It's like the whole tea thing of like, just because you guys know the tea thing, I think. Hopefully you know the tea thing. Do you know the tea thing? Did you ever see that? It's about how if you offer somebody tea, oh God, now I'm totally going to have the black. If you offer somebody tea and they say okay, and you start giving them tea, sometimes they're going to be like, oh my God, this tea is so delicious and I totally want it. Other times, they're going to be halfway through, they're going to be like, you know what, I don't want tea. I just don't want tea. And you can't be like, I made this tea for you. Okay, I prepped this tea. This tea was expensive. You really need to drink. You can't just force the tea down them.
I almost died for this tea.
I almost died for this tea. And you can't force and get a funnel and force them. No, that's ridiculous. And the other thing is, if someone said, yes, I want tea, but then they passed out, you still can't force them to do tea. It's that whole idea of just like consent is not consent forever. You have to be able to, in order to play responsibly, you have to be able to have that
protect yourself and to protect your little.
Yeah, you have to be able to engage with somebody who actually has their brain together and actually is functioning as an adult.
Be who you needed when you were young. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us weren't able to give consent or have an opinion or that be listened to. So that consent is so important, and it's liberating, and it's about growth as well, and trust.
Safe words. We've talked to so many littles and bigs who don't establish safe words. So it's also like any sort of play. Even though it's not sexy to say, starting at the beginning of the play, it's important to like kind of go over what you're okay with, what you're not okay with, what you kind of like to try, and always, always, always have safe words. The easiest for us is, you know, the BDSM safe words of just like yellow, which means like, whoa, this is kind of making me uncomfortable. I don't know about this. Let's slow it down. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. And red, which is just like, let's just stop.
And then nonverbal gestures, we've found are really important as well. Because in little space, being maybe nonverbal.
Yeah. So then that's something that a lot of people don't think about too, is when people have different ranges of little space. So someone who, like Zach, he identifies as being around 3 years old, but when he goes down, he will go into like this kind of really infant space where he is nonverbal, and it's really amazing to see. But having these kind of nonverbal cues is also important.
Or like have it posted where it can be.
They can point to, or just different things that you guys
y'all
figure
come
it out
up with, yes.
And that's part of the communication.
It is.
Well, how do I, because everybody is absolutely different.
Exactly. What works for you and the little.
Exactly. Because like, and it's different because each little that we interact with too is also going to be very different, and we fluctuate. That's why when people are asking, well, what is the session like?
That's what we found too. It's. I think people would think it's a bit alike, and it's not. We're each just incredible, lovable, but different beings.
Absolutely. So continuing consent.
Contracts.
And contracts. You can have contracts too. If that's going, I think, more into
the kink.
Yeah, the kink-based
okay.
stuff.
So I don't know.
It's important.
Yeah.
But it's important to just communicate, talk with one another. Talk about. Here's another thing too. Okay, for people such as myself, where it can kind of go into more of a domination thing. Sometimes it's difficult to hear criticism because I don't do anything wrong. No, but sometimes it can be difficult. But as a caregiver, you really have to be open to hearing that something that you did may have been triggering to that person, and something that you did is, may not have been taken the way you wanted it to be taken. That's why communication is so important, and you have to be able to hear a little when they're talking to you, and also sometimes to bring it out, because if they're little and they are thinking, I don't want to hurt, I don't want to, you're going to leave me. You won't love me anymore if I tell you. That's what a lot of them are thinking.
Or I don't want to hurt mommy's feelings or make mommy mad at me or disappointed in me.
That's why it's important for you sometimes kind of have to draw it out of them. And sometimes that can take some time. Like Danye.
Yes, it can. A lot of it is the trust and
Yes.
establishing trust, and you get to the point of trust, and then the little backs away from that, and so a lot of it is continually reestablishing trust, and that's really super important.
So going back, I kind of touched on this briefly. I think that a lot of this, the onus of responsibility will fall on us because we are the bigs, and there is an example. This is like a perfect example. For those of us who have a background in psychology and victimology and cycles of abuse, we can recognize this, but I don't think a lot of people do. If you're in a long-term situation with a little who you think just they're coming back. This is an example of something that happened in our community where someone was in a little big relationship, and it went to a place where he thought that she was still consenting to it, and they didn't have safe words, and they didn't have adult space together, and she would keep coming back to his house. And so he thought in his head, well, she's coming back to my house to play, so she must be okay with it. That wasn't the case. She was feeling, she didn't understand, but she felt like that was her duty, was to come back to this to this place, but she was not comfortable. She wasn't feeling loved. She wasn't feeling safe, but she kept doing it because she didn't want to be in trouble. And I think that is, it ended up turning into a big blow up because she then came out saying that she felt like she was in an abusive relationship, and it did develop into that. It developed into an abusive relationship that the big didn't really understand was an abusive relationship because he thought she was still consenting, but she wasn't. So,
and those things make us really sad. Make
Yeah.
us really heavy-hearted.
It's sad because the big didn't really thought that she was consenting, so he didn't understand. And that's why it's so important. And he'd never really thought of the idea of having, oh, wait, I should have safe words. Oh, wait, I should be communicating. Oh. Everybody, I mean, I haven't really met anyone who has like these deviant, for all of the studies that I've done, for all of the profiling that I've done, there are very few people who really are truly just out there to hurt people. It's just ends up, I mean, there definitely are people like that, but I think in our community, it is really people who just want to love and be loved. And that's why communication is so important, because people can get hurt so easily.
And it's good to get in the habit, to get comfortable with it, practice it, write it. And that's something we saw. There was a really big need to communicate as we were seeing, having the experience talking to people like this person and hearing the story of what was going on.
Yeah.
So we know the Caregiver 101 is just super important.
Yeah. Another thing too that a lot of people don't understand too is aftercare is absolutely essential for what we do. And so many people, I think, go into it because they don't recognize how vulnerable people can be, and they just think, oh, okay, our play is done. They got in trouble or they got spanked, and they don't do that aftercare, which is basically snuggling and loving and being like, okay, I still love you, or whatever, anything that is bringing that that person, not only bringing them back into adult space, but also just reconnecting with that person. And kind of like what we're saying with the whole broken bone thing, it's like sending someone out into the world without a cast. So you've reset their bone, but then you're like, good luck.
And I went through that personally. Again, I don't know if this is a trigger warning, but I had, really was very lucky to find good therapy. But there was a while that after the session, there wasn't kind of any aftercare. And I would, be out in the world, like catching the bus. And this is as an adult. And, during the session, I'd been, taken back, to when I was young and such. And I felt like just thrown into this world and all my emotions raw and all my feelings raw, and it was really difficult. So that's something that we really focus on. And that's just on my personal, what I went through with it. And then in the littles that we've had the honor of meeting, we hear that a lot. So that's something, we've always done. But then hearing it, that littles had gone through that too, we saw the importance of it, because we wouldn't send an infant, we wouldn't put an infant outside the door. It's just that we have to prepare them, because it goes deep when we have a session. And we have a responsibility that we can't then just send them out in the world. So that's huge, the aftercare.
Yeah.
Potential for more harm.
Yeah, that's if you don't do aftercare, you actually can end up doing more harm than good. Especially if they go to a space where, like you were saying, like with you, could be reliving past trauma or whatever. You never know what's going to bubble up when you're doing age play, and so reconnecting, checking in to make sure that person's okay. If there was a time where you were doing spankings or whatever, also checking in and being like, are you okay? Honey, you've learned or whatever. Just giving people love, just because that's what it's all about, is just loving people. So just making sure that person is okay, your play partner is okay.
Checking in. Did we do anything
yeah,
wrong?
that's also-
What helped them?
Yeah, yeah.
Communicate what you like, didn't like, without judgment.
Exactly, because it's important that we know too if we did
Yes.
anything wrong.
What helped, what didn't, what will help more. Things like that. We love the feedback.
And that was part 2 of Caregiver Month. Be sure and tune in next week for part 3, where Miss Mommy Black and Mommy Boo will continue to discuss what it's like to be a caregiver and tips and tricks for getting littles into the little space and much more. But thank you so much for watching. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And we'll catch you guys next week for part 3 of Caregiver Month.